It's Thanksgiving week, and let's stretch our bellies out with a 30-team recap, shall we? Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast, a sports ethos presentation hosted by yours truly, Aaron Brewski, and me, myself, and I. Going solo today as we're going to crack through 30 teams of a recap, and we're going to do it pretty quick here. There's a lot of ground to cover. Before I get started, though, I will say to like and subscribe to this show on your favorite pod network because when we put out some shows via pod, you want to make sure you get those. If you're only subscribed online to YouTube or whatever have you, you guys won't get the shows. So definitely like, subscribe, some reviews, all that stuff. And I'm speaking a little facetiously here. All that stuff so helps us out these days. I hate that this is the thing. It really bugs me to no end because I remember the old days, the good old days when we used to walk to school 5 miles in the snow. You just put your stuff out there, and if people liked it, they would take it. Now you got to kind of like beg for likes and subscribes and follows. So thank you guys. We really do appreciate that for, on behalf of all of us over here at Sports Ethos. And let's say hi to our sponsor before we jump in. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football to NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, and MMA. Head to the Bet Online website today to get on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. All right. Okay. I'm a little warmed up. I don't know about you guys. I had an early Thanksgiving weekend. Had some great dinner with my wife's family, and they cook extremely well. And it's good to see folks from other countries come and pile in on the table, and we had fun. It was all awesome. And let's jump right into it as we have 30 of these bad boys to go through. And I got to say, man, fantasy basketball is cooking right now. I love this time of year. It's early enough to where we're still kind of trying to figure out certain things, but it's also deep enough into the season where things are moving fast. Scores are piling up, and good players, good fantasy situations are starting to kind of take on a life of their own and turn into little buzz saws. So we'll try to catch that wave and make sure that you guys are all caught up heading into Monday's action here today. I'll be doing a show later today also on YouTube where you'll want to get subscribed as well. And we'll look ahead. It's all the action today. It's a busy 9-game slate. So a lot of games this week. So let's get cracking. Starting with last night's action, yesterday's action. We'll start with the morning game. It was Minnesota at Boston. I think this was a great, tasty morsel to start the day with. Also, top of the hour here, we had a news break with Shams reporting that Kristaps Porzingis will be back. That'll be fun and interesting, and we'll see. It's a little early, right? I kind of almost don't even believe the report. I need like triple confirmation, but yeah, that's a tweet that's flying around the internet right now. So we'll see Boston at full strength. Probably gives at least some hope for Porzingis to get onto a semi-normal schedule at some point in time. I mean, when I say semi-normal, I'm thinking no back-to-backs, but maybe the majority of the rest of his games in a decent minute total. I mean, they got a lot of backup options they've been relying on a lot in Boston. So, and I feel like they're okay with those backup options. So I don't know that this changes the calculus for him. I think we all thought that he would be kind of a risky day-to-day guy, but hey, he's back and he shouldn't be available in any leagues. So, sayonara to the rest of the league. Let's start on the Minnesota side. We've got at least they competed in this game. It was a premium game for them, so everybody was up, so to speak. But Julius Randle, 23 and 6, not much else there. Typically an efficient game for him. Jaden McDaniels slows down a little bit, 10 and 5 with no steals or blocks, but 2 threes. So not enough to keep the Jaden McDaniels. Is he back? I don't know if he was ever back, but whatever hype train there was for the last couple of weeks, has been a top 80 play entering this game. This one's a little bit of a downer, probably dropping him over the top 100 over a 2.5 week span. Rudy Gobert had 20 boards and 10 points, 0 embarrassing moments on the internet, as far as I know, 0 steals and blocks. Dante DiVincenzo into the starting lineup with 11 points, 1 steal, 1 block, and 3 threes. And more Dante is the answer in Minnesota rather than less Dante. He's a do not drop. Anthony Edwards, 28, 9, and 7, 4 of 4 from the foul line, which is something we've been tracking, 6 threes, but no steals. In this one, we need to see more steals out of Anthony Edwards. Naz Reid, quiet. 5 points, 5 boards, 1 steal, 1 3, 26 minutes. That little knee tweak is something that I'll be personally watching to see if maybe he's playing through something he shouldn't be playing through. Rob Dillingham got on the radar with 14 points and not much else. He needs to do a lot more before he'll be in consideration for standard formats. On the Boston side, typically strong game for Jason Tatum, 26 points and a full line. Drew Holiday still just slowly kind of hanging outside the top 159 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, and a triple one. Derek White, predictably good with a big fat line. Jaylen Brown, same thing, 29.7 threes, 2 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Jaylen Brown is he's underperforming so far this season. I don't know that anybody will be able to do anything with that information because his name is generally bigger than his fantasy game. And I don't know if you're going to be able to get in on any buy low, sell high action. Peyton Pritchard slowing down a little bit over the last couple of weeks. 8 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 1 3. Probably a top 100 guy this season with a lot of variance, though. I could see that somehow spinning into top 60. I could see it somehow falling into top 140. So you kind of got to just take your risk where you can with him. Moving into our next game, it was Washington trying to keep this close against Indy. I watched a decent amount of this game because I want to figure out what's up with Tyrese Halliburton. We'll get to him in a second here. Washington, though, big night out of Alexander Sarr, 17 and 14 with a steal and 2 blocks and a 3. So he's cooking. Keyshawn George, 15, 5 and 5 with 2 threes. So he's sort of back on the radar. I think he's a standard league guy. He had one bad game. Now, he hasn't been good enough to say, okay, well, he's just impossible to drop because, you know, he's been a late round guy. There is a little bit of noise right now in Washington. You got Kyle Kuzma sort of trying to figure things out this season. I think this might be a really bad year for him. 10 points, not much else, 30 minutes, kind of just getting in the way out there. Malcolm Brogdon getting his token 25 minutes, 15 points, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 3. Could he have some short-term value? Sure. Is he going to ruin Bub Carrington? Maybe for a little bit here in the short term. Carrington, 5 points, 4 boards, 2 steals, 1 block, just 2 assists, and a 3. It's actually not that bad of a line for a guy that played 22 minutes off the bench getting replaced for Malcolm Brogdon. And this feels like, they're like if you got Malcolm Brogdon on your squad, you might as well play him. Kind of logic going on over there. I don't know if there's any logic going on at all. Bilal Coulibaly, 17, 6 and 4 with a full line, 5 cash counting stats, and the 3 steals and blocks department, 38 minutes. There's no doubt about his value going forward. At minimum, he'll be 125 going forward, probably more like 75 when it's all said and done at the end of the season. So don't panic at any point in time that Bilal falls off. Jonas Valanciunas, 16 minutes, 4 points, 8 boards, 1 steal. Not a lot of reliability there, even though he started to get it cooking a little bit. On the Indy side, Tyrese Halliburton, I wanted to just see kind of on a game-to-game basis, I just want to see where he's at. Now, he's got a 4-game home stretch, and they had the first one last night. His home and away splits, we talked about him a lot on the show, and they've been decidedly in favor of his playing at home, and it's the back issue. He's traveling with this back issue, and I don't know that it gets extraordinarily better at home, but maybe all things together at home pull him along and make him the player he was last season. He still looks stiff to me. He's still side to side. It just everything's a half step short. So what do we do with that? Well, if he's playing like he was in this one, we're absolutely fine with it. 21 points, 4 boards, 9 assists, 2 steals, 5 threes. Decent enough efficiency in this one. More or less, what I've been looking for out of Halliburton is he shrinking? And is there something going on upstairs? And I think there is, for one. I just don't think it's as big as it could be if maybe he was, not being as aggressive as he has, not just in this game, but he was getting matched up with Giannis Antetokounmpo against Milwaukee. He was getting matched up with Andre Jackson in that game, just facing a ton of length and athleticism, which has been his kryptonite in the past. He has attacked it about as well as one could expect, considering the back issue. A lot of drives to the rim, not shying away from contact so much, but just not quite there yet. So in terms of a buy low, this 4-game stretch could possibly slam the window shut on it. So this is 1 of 4. If you're trying to get in on a buy low for Tyrese Halliburton, yes, there's some risks because if that injury gets worse, it's just going to get worse for him. But if he somehow can catch some rest and you got the in-season tournament coming up, maybe during that time, he can get like an extra day or something. I mean, we're not talking about a ton of rest here, but if he can, maybe things will start to get better in Indy and maybe they'll start to kind of figure out how to play with one another as well. Because Siakam, 22 points, 6 and 6, not much else. Siakam, he takes up a lot of oxygen out there. Miles Turner takes up some oxygen out there. Benedict Mathurin, 16, 6 and 4 with a 3 and 7 of 8 from the foul line, still kind of cooking at a top 100 level. takes up a lot of oxygen out there. It's almost as if Tyrese Halliburton's not the number one guy. He's just a guy, but he just happens to have a really good fantasy stat set. And that's what propels him into that early round, first round, hopefully value for a lot of folks who ended up taking him in the middle round, not saying names, but me. Elsewhere in the Indiana lineup, Jarris Walker, 3 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals, 1 3 in 20 minutes. He's probably just going to be a top 150 guy going for Obi Toppin, 11 points and not much else in 16 minutes. I'd have Walker over Toppin. Moses Brown showed up, but he only got 12 minutes. He had 15 points in those 12 minutes. It's not enough to get going there. So still kind of trying to figure out who in the backup big man land can maybe possibly reach up and flirt with some top 100 value. And the answer is not Jarris Walker just yet, but he's the one that I'd be watching to see if he can. All right, Dallas at Miami was a great game to watch. There was no Luka Doncic. Thank you very much. So you had a lot of opportunity for a lot of other guys. Kyrie Irving obviously led the way with 27 points and a normal stat line. PJ Washington, 21 and 10 with 2 steals and a 3. So the going's been good since he's been back on the floor. Probably a little bit of a sell high moment. Derek Lively, 14 and 13, 2 blocks. Daniel Gafford, 10 blocks, or probably 10 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks. I wish he had 10 blocks. Those two guys carving up those center minutes nice and efficiently so far. Both guys will be at minimum late round value, but I think especially in the case of Gafford, his stat set leads himself to mid round value pretty easily, and he can climb. Top 50 for that guy is not out of the question. He was doing it just as recently as last season. There's nothing that's changed with their configuration unless you want to count Klay Thompson, 15 points, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 3 threes. As 6 boards, as well as a guy. Klay finally kind of sort of getting on track a little bit here. It's going to be up and down for him this season, probably a late round balance. I think that's it for the Dallas Mavericks. Najee Marshall, 20 points, 5 boards, 3 trays. Worth a look if you just need a fill in. Miami, Duncan Robinson, the slowdown is hit. 8 points, not much else. 2 threes, that's it. So he's kind of probably off your board if you were riding that wave for the last week. Jimmy Butler had a Jimmy Butler game of all Jimmy Butler games, except the 11 of 16 at the foul line. Not sure what's going on out there. He's probably just trying to work something out at the line. He's a high volume guy, so it's been bad. It's not helping out. But the 33, 9, and 6 with the full stat line, otherwise, no threes, but that's Jimmy's style. Jimmy's going to be fine, I think. Jimmy's been really probably faded about as much as anybody in the kind of early round space as there is the time off. And when he's been on the floor, he's been really a back-end top 150 guy. It's been rough for Jimmy Butler this season. So you probably, in terms of buy low, I don't know if you can, but maybe you do get one more opportunity here. If this becomes the new normal, as it typically is, maybe one more chance to get Jimmy Butler. Maybe just try to throw a top 75 guy out for Jimmy Butler. See if you can catch a top 30 wave the rest of the season. Bam Adebayo, predictably weird, 19, 11, and 5 with no defensive stats and 3 trays. Who would have thought it? Tyler Hero, 18, 10, and 5, 1 of 10 from 3, 8 of 25 from the field. What goes up must come down. He was at a top 20 level, and he's probably going to be a top 40, 50 guy when on the floor this season. And then you have a little bit of injury risk baked in there. Nikola Jovic, just 6 minutes. So the Nikola Jovic revival is not a thing, nor was it really ever a thing. Let's get out of Dallas and Miami, which was a really entertaining game. And get to a game that wasn't entertaining. The Clippers whomp Philly 125-99. So this was, a game where we got to see Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain play. But let's get that Clipper side first. Derrick Jones Jr., 18 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 3. This is somebody that you can look at while Norm Powell is out. Jones, a back-end late-round guy, independently of the Norm Powell injury. And for however long Norm is out, I think they are going to rely on Derrick for a little bit more offense. I think it's going to make him more of like a top 100 play in the short term. Ivica Zubac, 16 and 12. Normal business. James Harden, 23 points, 4 of 10 shooting, 12 of 12 from the foul line. He continues to cook. Amir Coffey can't get it done in this game. 7 points, 2 threes, not much else in 25 minutes. Chris Dunn, 23 minutes, 9 points, 2 steals, 1 3, barely getting you a top 170, 200 line in his 23-minute start, but it's a blowout, so you kind of cut him a little bit of slack there. Mo Bamba showing up a tiny bit in the box score, 7 points, 4 boards, 2 blocks, 1 3. We need to see him kick it up about 3 notches, but he does have an interesting, I don't want to say good, but interesting fantasy stat set. So if he is able to Maybe get that number up to closer to 18, 19, and just add a little bit more pop. He might enter that top 200. For those of you in deep leagues looking for a center, that's the only other interesting thing in the box score for the Clippers. Let's move it on to the Philadelphia 76ers side. The guys that are floating around as streamer action 6, not much cooking. Caleb Martin, 13 minutes. Not even sure what the story is there. Wouldn't be surprising if an injury popped up. But Tyrese Maxey, 17 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, 3 threes. Okay enough. Jared McCain, though, he really got hit in this one. And then the Clippers, they're kind of a really good basketball team, despite the fact they don't have Kawhi Leonard. And a lot of it boils down to they have athleticism at a lot of positions, and Zubac is a load down there. And so they got good basketball players, and they are optimized to play with James Harden right now. I don't know if they're optimized to play with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard and Norm Powell. I mean, I guess the answer is yes, probably. But in terms of a perfect fit right now for James Harden, you get a bunch of guys that are complementary, sort of, they work their zones of the floor in different places. And James just gets to go out there and be James. They're a good basketball team. Defensively, Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey, they had their hands full with all that length out there and all that athleticism on the floor. So McCain, 3 of 15, 2 of 11 from 3. He did get to the foul line 12 times and made 10, but 18 points, 4 assists, nothing else other than those 2 threes. A little bit of a bummer because you might be looking at this game and saying, hey, this could be how things look for this team going forward. This team could throw in the towel. It feels like 3-13, 2-6 at home. Philadelphia, hearing a little bit of booze. McCain, the efficiency becomes an issue because this team gets bad for whatever reason, it takes his top 75 grade, which I think he legitimately holds, with Joel Embiid back, with Paul George in the fold. Sure, that could slide to top 100, but I think top 75 is really the number for him in that configuration. I'm not sure that things don't get worse for him if this team gets worse. And it might not be true in all games because I don't know if they'll face the defensive equation that the Clippers present. But I do think that Jared McCain might benefit from having at least one of the big two on the floor so he doesn't see so much defensive attention. And this game might have been a harbinger of things to come. I don't think there's anything else interesting in that box score. Not even you, Andre Drummond, with your 14 minutes, 6 points, 5 boards, and 1 block. So not interesting. Let's move it along to Toronto at Cleveland. Now, Toronto played this game tough, and they played a lot of games tough. Their 4-13 record should probably be like 6-11 or something. Cleveland, 17-1. What I liked about the Toronto side of the coin is they present an athletic front. Scotty Barnes, 34 minutes, 18 points, 7-7, 3 steals, 1 block, 1 3, 7 of 12 from the line. So a little inefficient, but a very active game for Scotty Barnes. And that was a couple plays that Scotty Barnes, he really was laying it on the floor. So I think he's excited to play ball. I think he's hungry to sort of step into this next, jump up the NBA rank ladder, so to speak. So that was just good to see, this team trying hard, playing hard, and kind of combating the tanking narrative, if you will. Jakob Poeltl, 12 points, 19 boards, 1 steal, 2 blocks. He's just cruising this season, and good for him. RJ Barrett, another real that piece is starting to look a little bit icky out there. 16 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 6 of 18 shooting, and just standing in the wrong place on the floor quite a bit because I think he's been enjoying being the center of attention there. Ochai Agbaji, 9 points, 5 boards, 1 3. I'll be honest, I was worried with how this was all going. But then Grady Dick got dinged up. 18 points, 4 boards, 3 triples, 6 of 17. We don't have an update after the game, so we'll have to just kind of watch that one throughout today. And in terms of a drop, I'm not ready to drop Agbaji after one bad game. That said, it might get tight. And it's been bad for him in the past. He's stepped forward this season. He's been a top 100 guy in the season. He's done it because of cash counting stats, threes, steals, and blocks. Those weren't here in this one. And I do wonder if he'll get crowded out a little bit in the short term. I'm hoping it won't be a bad enough to make him be a drop, because I do think his long-term trajectory this season is pretty safe. He might finish the season as a top 75 guy cumulatively. And that's a great season. That's a 6th rounder, right there in your back pocket. But for now, a little bit, for those of you with quick trigger fingers, you guys might already be itching Down toward the bottom of the roster, Chris Boucher had a big fast start, 14 minutes, 10 points, 3 boards, 2 steals, and then Darko went away from him. And then Mobo, my guy, 13 and 7, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 3, 4 of 4 from the foul line. So we got a Mobo game. And what am I doing with that? Well, I had him stashed in a couple of places, and it's a luxury stash at best. But Scotty Barnes is his buddy. And I kind of wonder, the thing I'm wondering about this is, does he play better with his buddy? And are they going to lean into this a little bit? It is an incredibly athletic proposition. When you start putting Barnes and Abaji, Barrett, even Pirtle, it gets to be a lot of arms and legs out there. Hell, even Grady Dick. It's I can see why Darko might go with this. Now, Mobo has not been good in fantasy leagues, so I don't want to oversell this any more than I already probably have. But the talent's there. He's a physical specimen, that's for sure. On the Cleveland side, Evan Mobley was good, 14 and 11 with a great steal and a block. Okoro, 10, 6, and 4, 2 threes, 1 steal, 1 block. Let's see him do it again before anybody kind of chases those numbers. Jared Allen, 23 and 13 with a steal and a block. Garland, it's a little slow down for Garland. And Mitchell, these two ships are passing into the night. Mitchell's going to get better and better as the year goes on. Garland's going to slide a little bit, but Garland's going to have a great year no matter what, as long as he stays healthy. So far, so good on that front. Ty Jerome, 26 points, 3 boards, 6 assists, 4 steals, 1 block, 4 threes. That is outstanding in his 28 minutes. I know guys are coming back. No Karis LeVert, no Dean Wade. Who's the other one that's out? I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sure Andre will tell me. What's up, Andre? It's the first reference I've had today in this show. That's got to be a record. But yeah, Ty Jerome, I don't think he is moving. I don't think he's moving. This is funny. The Strus and Craig. I don't know. Craig who? Porter Jr.? Oh, he's just disappeared. You know what, though? It makes me feel better about Craig Porter Jr. with his 6 minutes. If he's going to get knocked out of relevancy, Ty Jerome's the guy I want to do that. And that's Ty Jerome has just, I don't know, he's morphed into a statistical machine. I'll probably get like 20 minutes a game when things are packed, but he's been top 115 in 9-cat leagues in those 20 minutes per game. And yeah, the shooting is amazing. But I don't know, on this squad, the shooting might stay amazing. He might earn a 25-minute role going forward. Max Strus is probably in a little bit of trouble. I don't think I would be proactively stashing Max Strus in this situation with Cleveland being so kind of good. I mean, Craig Porter Jr. is good, and he's only getting 6 minutes per game. Sam Merrill, the other player. Sam played in the last game 20 minutes, so that didn't affect the equation very much. Just Ty Jerome is good now, like pretty damn good. And good for him. He's put it together. When they were talking about Ty Jerome in camp, I didn't buy it. And therefore, I ranked Craig Porter a little bit higher than I probably would had I been on the train with Ty Jerome. All right, let's get out of Cleveland. Let's get to Brooklyn. Not sure what's up with the camera today. It's like super close-up land. I don't like it. Zaire Williams, Brooklyn 108, Sacramento 103. Zaire Williams has been off the radar for a little bit. I'm not buying there. Too many holes in the stat set. This game was a little bit boring, but they beat Sacramento in Sacramento, which is going to have some implications, and I'll talk about that in a second. Claxton, he had 4.7 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks in 23 minutes. A little bit hard line to kind of track there from first glance, but the good thing for Claxton, he looked athletic. So if you've been wondering, is Claxton going to turn it around this season? This game made me think yes. I think this back issue is bigger than we would like it to be. Some reporting in the preseason probably would have been nice, but that's the way things go in today's NBA. Ben Simmons, 4 points, 3 boards, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. I ain't doing that. Cam Thomas, 34 points, except when Keon Ellis was on him, he was pretty much uncoverable. 34 points, 6 assists. It's going to be up and down for Cam Thomas, but right now you're just enjoying what you're getting, which is about a mid-round value. Jalen Wilson got 33 minutes, didn't do too much with him. Clowney, 18 points, a steal and a block, and 5 threes. We're getting more good Clowney games than we've seen in the past. They are not decidedly all good Clowney games. There have been bad ones lately as well, but the ratio of good to bad is on the rise. Clowney is somebody you should definitely have on your radar at minimum. And if at any point in time you have dead weight on your roster, you want to take a chance, maybe he can be a guy that can get you multiple threes and some decent combination of defensive stats that don't completely turn you off. Dennis Schroeder didn't play in this game with a right ankle injury, leading to more Cam Thomas. On the Sacramento side, they're just trying to figure it out. DeMar DeRozan, 18 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, no cash counters. DeRozan is playing kind of well enough, and this might not have been his best game. He's playing well enough, but he's sucking up all the oxygen in the offense. This was the primary concern with bringing him in. It's not like, again, he's not playing bad. It's just taking the air out of the sails of the Sacramento Kings, and mostly their third, fourth, and fifth best offensive players on the court at a given time. Some guys are being over aggressive because they're not getting shots. Some guys are being under aggressive because they're too afraid to shoot because they're afraid they're going to get yanked. Shout out Keon Ellis, 9 points, 3 of 4 from deep, 1 board, 1 assist, 1 steal. So, I mean, he gets you 4 cash counters in this otherwise stinky line here. He played great as usual. The Kings are just stepping on a rake. Like, you got 4 guys that need the ball, and you got an all NBA defender that wrecks up, that blows up plays every single time he's on the floor. And you need more basketballs to go around. This is not that tough, guys. This is not that tough. Kevin Huerter, 11 points, 3 boards, 32 minutes, 2 blocks, 1 3. This is not that difficult, Sacramento. Come on. You guys are better than this. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan. I like watching good Sacramento ball. It was so bad for so long covering that team, and they got a shot at good ball here, and they're just kind of barfing it up. That's just sad. Fox, 31-5, 2 steals, 3 trays. Kind of things are picking up for Fox. That's good for business for us. Sabonis, 13-18 and 7, a 3 and a steal. He's been shooting a lot of threes and actually looking pretty good. I don't know that it changes his fantasy equation too much, so we won't spend any more time on that. We'll keep it moving over to Utah and New York. New York goes into Utah and loses. Must be that Utah nightlife. Oh my God. Mikal Bridges, 7 points, 3 boards, 1 steal, 1 block, 3 of 15 shooting. So not a great line for him. OG Anunoby, 27 points, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 7 threes as the good times continue. Just about for everybody here. 16 and 5 for Cat. 6 and 19 is not great. I don't think this is the line that pushes him up the ranks, but it's still, you'll take it. Jalen Brunson, 23 points, 8 assists. Still struggling, Jalen Brunson. And Josh Hart, 17, 6 and 6 with 2 steals and 3 blocks, 2 threes. Who cares if they lost to Utah? Everybody got minutes. Cameron Payne got 31 minutes, but Miles McBride is basically back. So don't try to pick up Cameron Payne thinking you're going to get any value. On the Utah side, John Collins, great year, which is good for business here. 20 and 13, 2 steals and 1 block. It continues. 2 threes. Just enjoy it. He might navigate the whole damn thing. We might have old Atlanta John Collins finally. Lauri Markkanen, 34 points, 9 boards, 5 threes. Sell high line if I've ever seen one. Walker Kessler, 11 and 10 with 3 blocks. We'll just be watching out for that hip on a kind of probably constant basis for the rest of the season, knowing him. Colin Sexton, 25 and 5, 6 threes. Trying to get you guys not to jump off the Colin Sexton train. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be good every night going forward, but generally speaking, he kind of works out to be a top 100 on a per game basis, and he can kind of accumulate you to the top 75 level. Keontae George, 11 points, 4 of 11 shooting, 9 assists. So basically a Keontae George line. Jordan Clarkson, 25 minutes, but didn't get much done in the bottom of the rotation there. So he's just kind of a fringe streamer for you guys. Orlando and Detroit in Orlando, I should say. Detroit had a chance, but they couldn't come up with it in the second half. Tobias Harris was slow in this one. Tim Hardaway Jr., even slower, 3 points and 1 of 4 shooting. So he's not probably fit for most standard league rotations. So if you were taking a chance on him, you'd probably be much better off with Malik Beasley, 18 points, 4 assists, 4 threes. Jaden Ivey, 19, 7 and 2, 2 steals, 1 block, 2 threes. He's just cruising along doing his thing as a late mid-round value. He needs to hit more free throws, hit 5 of 6 in this one, but otherwise good. Jalen Duren, 7 and 4 with a block. That's no good. And it's been feast or famine for him. And on the year, it's been famine. Isaiah Stewart's been more valuable, and he was more valuable in this one. 7 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, 5 blocks, 1 3. Is this the year that beef stew becomes an actual thing? After years of trying to be a thing, he might actually become a thing. And he's a must-roster player, I think, at this point. I mean, given the fact that he was a top 130 value before this game, before this this big game here. He's creeping up on top 100 value. Jalen Duren's ankles may not be right. It's not a guarantee that Isaiah Stewart is this productive the rest of the way, but it kind of feels like this is where it's heading. So if that's not been taken advantage of in your league, I think you got to give a good long look at some beef stew. It's cold outside. Have some stew. Goga Bitadze, 3 blocks, 8 points, 1 steal, just 1 board, 18 minutes. Wendell Carter Jr. feels like he's going to be right back here around the corner. So, it's back to the 3-headed center monster. Mo Wagner, 28 minutes, 18 points, 7 boards, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 3. In the past, what they've done is they put Wendell Carter in to start, and they've left Mo Wagner on the bench, and they tell Goga to just go have a seat. I guess that's what you got to plan for. If you have Goga and you want to treat him as an upside flyer, maybe something happens with Wendell Carter Jr. and Goga somehow navigates this. Maybe he can get 18 minutes a game somehow if they go with like 3 centers and knock a couple of power forwards back. That said, Tristan Da Silva's been starting. He hasn't been producing, but he's been starting, getting bigger minutes. 26 minutes in this one. John Isaac, 23 minutes. John Isaac, by the way, 5 points, 12 boards, 2 steals, 3 blocks. John Isaac's starting to heat up. You can't trust it, but it can get valuable real quick. So I think if you want to treat him as a late round guy with some upside, that's not a bad idea. I don't think he should be hanging around a ton of waiver wires. Jalen Suggs, just 9 points in this one, and or probably 9 minutes in this one. And I want to see an update with that. Like, I don't know what's up with that, but I want to see an update, with Jalen Suggs, because that just doesn't look good at all. No fouls, 9 minutes. What's up, Jalen Suggs? I'm sure there's a reason for that. Andre, tell me, what happened with Jalen Suggs? I don't know how that slid past my radar. Well, let's keep it moving. It always depresses me when I don't know why something happened. Hamstring, now questionable. Thank you. Injury reporting these days. It's the industry is not doing well, folks. Support the industry in which way you can. Memphis 142, Chicago 131. You got a lot of the same stuff going on, though. It's pretty cool that Scottie Pippen Jr. scores 30 points in Chicago. That's just a cool story. And it's just cool because this dude earned it. There's not the if you want to call the LeBron brawny stuff, maybe the benchmark for this kind of a thing. Scottie just toiled and then toiled and toiled, and then he just proved to everybody he was good. I think we knew he was good, and now he's proven it to people. And he's a do not drop. And this is why. 30 points, 10 assists, 13 of 16 shooting, 3 threes. And because he did so much scoring and assisting, he didn't have the juice to get the steals and blocks, but that's the beauty of his game. If Ja Morant comes back and it just, I think he's in shoot around today. So it's coming soon. Ja Morant returning. Scottie Pippen Jr. might start playing 25 minutes again. What will happen if he's not getting shots? We'll go out. He'll get you 3 defensive stats. He just gets it done, and he's going to continue to get it done all season. It doesn't matter how healthy the Memphis Grizzlies get. Santa Aldama, as we call him in my house, 10 and 10 with 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 3. I think he's also going to hold on. Let's check in with Jack LaRavia. 2 points, 4 boards, 6 assists, 0 cash counters. So this was a bad LaRavia game. And he's been good this season. And if he gets 23 minutes per game, he might be a top 125 guy the rest of the way. This game, not a great reflection of that. So we'll keep an eye. I'm watching Jake LaRavia of all people in Memphis, believe it or not. Jay Huff is another one. 19 minutes in this game, 14 points, 5 boards, 3 trays, a steal, and a block. Jay Huff has standard league value in his 17 minutes per game. I don't have it off the top of my head. He just does. It's scary. The variance on a game-to-game basis will be high, but I mean, what happens if he trips and falls and gets 24 minutes? What would we do then? Well, we would be happy with our plus top 100 value. So Jay Huff is somebody that should be on a lot of rosters. I understand if he's not, but he should be on a lot of rosters at this point in time in standard category leagues, if not all 12 teamers. It depends on your center situation. If it's a single center league, maybe not. But it's the upside equation here, though. He hasn't really been given the minutes yet. That doesn't mean that it can't change later in the season. Perhaps if Memphis starts to continue to be dinged up. Jaren Jackson Jr. was fine in this one, just cruising. Brandon Clark's starting, but not producing at a standard league level. Jalen Wells still scoring, had a big one in this one, 26, 4 and 6, 10 of 14, 6 threes. There's holes in the stat set. Ja Morant's coming back. This will impact him. So it's just fun while you have it, and it hasn't been incredibly valuable because of the holes in the stat set, but he's been filling it up. So you go Jalen Wells. Desmond Bane still a little quiet. 13.7 boards, 2 assists, 1 block, 1 3. He didn't catch a piece of the 142 points. And you'd usually think that 142 points is going to guarantee that everybody has great lines. But sometimes these high scoring games, they do such wacky things with the box score that it's not the case. Well, Desmond didn't catch a piece of this big one here. So we'll see if he can get it in the next one. On the Chicago side, Vucevic rolling, nothing new there. Kobe White, nothing to write home about, but he's just fine. He's been a top 60 guy the entire season. Zach LaVine, 29 points, 2 steals, 3 triples, 6 of 6 from the foul line. You'll take it. Ayo Dosunmu, 8 points, 5 assists, 2 threes. That's not going to cut it. Josh Giddey, 21 minutes. That's not cutting it. 12.7 boards, 8 assists, 2 blocks, 2 threes. That is cutting it. So he caught a big piece of the number of the 131 points that the Chicago Bulls scored. Jalen Smith not getting it done. 7 points, 5 boards, 1 block, 1 3 in his 15 minutes. And that's despite having Pat Williams out. I wonder if he's on an either medically based minute count or Billy Donovan based minute count. Matas Bucelis, 29 minutes, 14 points, 2 threes, 1 block. At least it caught my attention. There's not enough meat to the bone here. And it's probably the truth on the floor as well. He's still very thin, maybe not ready to bang at an NBA level, at least at this stage of his current rookie season. But the minute they cut him loose, the threes and the blocks combo, and if he can just pump up the boards just a little bit, that probably down the stretch will look pretty good. A little bit earlier, a lot early right now for Bucelis. I wouldn't be reaching to go there. Moving along to Portland and Houston. By the way, this is Fantasy NBA Today, presented by BetOnline, a Sports Ethos presentation. Thank you guys very much for all of your support. And if you could stop and subscribe and drop us a 5-star review on the pod or wherever you're listening to this, that would be so appreciated. It totally helps us power the engines here. And in this day and age, we want to continue being the leader and investing in this industry going forward. You guys being able to help us out with that, with your little clicks of the buttons, if you will. It's incredibly appreciated. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Portland at Houston. Houston might be ready to slide a little bit. They've been really good. And 12-6 after this loss. They just probably got a little overconfident. Portland at 7-10. Some of these teams that had the low over-under win totals marks are just out to a huge fast start. None of them are tanking for flag, but they're not. They're just not doing it well early on. Portland has this conglomeration of players that are just really fun in their own little silos to talk about. Toumani Camara has become one of the better defensive players in the NBA. He only had a steal and a block in this one to go with a 2 of 10 shooting line. So it's not his best fantasy performance, but he's really turning heads. Jeremy Grant, 22 points, 4 threes. It's not been great for Grant. He's the least interesting, probably. Donovan Clingan, maybe the most interesting. 19 boards, 1 steal, 3 blocks, 0 points. I think we're going to call that a Clingan line for the foreseeable future. Anthony Simons got back in the saddle, 25 points, 10 of 20 from the field. Otherwise full on the stat line. Shadon Sharp, 24 points, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 6 of 6 from the foul line. It's kind of all over the board with him, and you had no Scoot in this one. So, that took some inefficient chucking off of the floor. No DeAndre Ayton in this one. So, some guys out, but still, Shadon Sharp, when it's all said and done, probably going to finish at best with late round value. If you're punting in the areas he's deficient, he becomes much more valuable. So I understand if there's a little bit more hype out there for Sharp than there is in this universe where we kind of balance everything out on the statistical category stat set and weigh it all. Banton hasn't been good. He's been a little noisy, but he hasn't been good. 7, 6, and 5 on 2 of 9 shooting in this one in 22 minutes. So I don't think the Banton moment is here, but there will be a Banton moment at some point. Oh, yes, there will. Denny Avdia, 33 minutes, 14 and 10, a steal and 4 blocks, 2 threes. It hasn't been good for him this year, but it was great for him last night, in this last game here. So maybe Denny, if he's been dropped in your league, has got a top 100 rest of season. It's completely possible. He's definitely good enough. This team is certainly weird enough. Robert Williams didn't play in this game, but he might be the only center in the next game. So basically, you're just rolling with Clingan and Williams. And I probably actually would have them in that order, even though Robert Williams will probably be much more valuable than Clingan in the short term. But his injury history is well known. Clingan will just continue to get more minutes as the season goes on. I'm really curious what they're going to do with DeAndre Ayton. They really have a real bad situation on their hands. They probably got to find a trade partner and just grit their teeth and pay to trade the guy so they don't have to pay him in the next couple of years. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to in Portland. But if that happens, that it's pay dirt for the aforementioned centers, presuming they don't trade Robert Williams into another role. But if that happens, it's probably not the end of the world because they're going to play him and he'll play the same amount of minutes that he's playing right now. Jabari Smith for Houston, 14 and 8 with 3 blocks, 3 threes. So things are, just don't panic when Jabari has bad games. They're going to happen. I don't think he's dropping beneath 150. I don't think he's dropping beneath 125 this season. I think 100 would be a good mark for him on a per game basis. If it can happen, I don't think it will. I think 125 on a per game basis is where he will be. And then he has upside if guys get hurt. And that's really the story there. Alperen Sengun, 36 minutes, 22-5 and 5-2 steals, 8 of 11. No threes. So a little bit of the inefficiency starting to creep back in there for him. Dillon Brooks, 13 and 5. He's just in a perfect spot to be Dillon Brooks. And this is a very Dillon Brooks Houston Rockets squad. And the best part about it is we're getting kind of peak Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks doesn't think he's Kobe Bryant in Houston. He thought he was Kobe Bryant in Memphis, and he's not. And that's great for everybody involved in Houston. Jalen Green, still struggling. I'm so sad. I thought he might turn the corner this year, but it's just not going to happen for this squad. Fred VanVleet, slow in this one. 8 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, and I think 3 middle fingers. And one of them might have connected with a ref. I'm surprised we haven't heard about a suspension yet. But yeah, Fred VanVleet lost it in this game, and it was great. Tari Eason, 20 minutes, 2 steals, 1 block, 5 boards, 0 of 7 from the field. Don't panic. Tari Eason will be fine. They love him, and we love him. He might be a top 50 play the rest of the season. At worst, if he's healthy, it would be top 75. At worst, if he's healthy, it'll be top 75. Amen Thompson, 35 minutes in this one with Fred VanVleet getting the early hook and some early foul trouble as well in this game. So Amen Thompson, 35 minutes, 19 and 7, 1 steal, 1 3. And that actually is why you don't drop Amen Thompson, folks, because he's just ready to step in. And he had been sliding a tiny bit, but I think with this line, he'll be looking pretty good in the ranks, probably about 120 on the season, if I had to guess. And a lot of talent. There's no way you're going to drop him. He's just like Scottie Pippen. He's a do not drop. Let's get out of Houston and let's get into the Bucks, Hornets and Bucks game. We got 119, 125. Charlotte tried to compete, but Milwaukee has almost righted the ship. They're 8 and 9 now, knocking on the door to respectability. I love it. These guys are they're hurting in Charlotte. Grant Williams out for the season. So what does that do for the Charlotte Hornets? Well, my eye immediately traveled to Cody Martin. Cody Martin didn't pop or anything in this game. 6 and 6, 6.6 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. But what did pop is it was just sort of an active participant in the game. And if you're going to lose Grant Williams, you're going to need some muscle. You're not, especially with the big men possibly coming back. Mark Williams participating in team and individual activities. So, I mean, that's great. I think that covers both sides of the coin, team and individual. Okay. So he's doing something. We don't know what. Nick Richards, same thing. If I had to order their returns, I would say Nick Richards first and Mark Williams second, but I have no clue. But you got your 2 bigs coming back. Moussa Diabate, 31 minutes, 11 boards, 2 steals, 1 block. There's not enough fantasy juice here, guys. I understand he's the next new shiny thing, and people are getting excited a little bit. That's an oversell a little bit, but people are watching, hoping they can kind of get a diamond in the rough there. But you're going to have 3 longer big men, and you got Brandon Miller who can slide down and play a little bit of power forward. By the way, Brandon Miller's just been outstanding lately. 32 and 11, 3 assists, 1 block, 6 threes. Outstanding. And LaMelo Ball in this game, 50 points, 10 assists. I'm burying the lead because he's doing something practically similar every night. I mean, this team, no Miles Bridges in this one, and he's on a kind of a week-to-week basis right now, but the day-to-day, week-to-week, maybe a little bit more of the latter. LaMelo Ball is just ready to go. Man, you are loving life if you got LaMelo Ball right now. He is absolutely crushing it. Brandon Miller crushing it. When they're down scores, I mean, Trey Mann, if he comes back, he didn't play in this one. If Trey Mann comes back and there's only these two scorers on the floor, Miller and Ball, he will also be a top 100 guy going forward. But Cody Martin is the only player that they have in Charlotte who can somewhat replicate what Grant Williams does as a kind of shorter, stronger, and Grant's much stronger than Cody Martin. But Martin's getting a little bit bigger as he's getting up there in age. So he's got that old man strength a little bit. He's probably going to be the solution as long as his body holds up. So what does this mean? Cody Martin's been a guy that we've liked in the past because he's had some multi-category potential there. He's got a decent little stat set. I think he could be a top 100 guy for the foreseeable future. That'd be a pretty good outcome. I mean, it's not probably the likely. I think 125 is probably the likely outcome. You got the injury risk, maybe or he can or cannot pull it off. But I think Cody Martin 100 to 125 is a pretty good chance as long as he's healthy. And nobody else there. Josh Green's not a fantasy guy. You're not going to go reach up and get Josh Green. Taj Gibson, bless his heart, he played 4 minutes in this one. He can't handle anything. Tijane Saloon, definitely butchering that name. 6 points, 17 minutes, not much else, 2 threes. I don't think he's the guy. I think it's Cody Martin. Cody Martin's the guy. In Milwaukee, my Taurean Prince watch, from B150s past, it continues slowly. 8 points, 5 boards, 2 threes. I don't know. Maybe 125 is going to look more like 150 when the thing is all said and done. And you got guys like Brook Lopez who've been better. And maybe Prince was good early and maybe he's fallen back now. I mean, this is all just like waiver wire talk. There's nothing major going on here. Giannis continues to kind of terrorize the league with scoring and rebounding. 32 points, 11 boards, 6 assists. Same old Giannis, same thing. Brook Lopez being Brook Lopez, 13 and 8 with 3 blocks, a steal, and 3 trays. Good to see him on track. The Lillard explosion's coming. It's 9 and 21 in this last game. 31, 4 and 4, 1 steal, 10 of 11 from the foul line. He's going to have a big game soon. I just don't know when. His shooting was really low, 36% entering this game over, I think, a 2-week span. And then this, kind of along the same lines as that. I think there's going to be a stretch where he shoots about 45, 48%, and he goes off for like 30 to 40 points per game. And you guys are going to love it. Andre Jackson, 5, 6, and 4, 1, 3. Don't fall for it. It's great. He's athletic. I've fallen for it in the past. Last year when he got some minutes, there's just not enough stat set here. Bobby Portis probably turning the boat slowly. 11 points, 7 boards, 1 steal, 3 blocks, 1 3, 27 minutes. Probably heading back to being a top 100 guy as he has been for the last few seasons. Gary Trent, 29 minutes, 16 points, 4 threes. Let's see Gary Trent do it about 2 more times before we get in on a late round valuation there. What do we got? We got Golden State and San Antonio. Don't think we've talked about these guys yet. Golden State, the Lindy Waters watch is on. 25 minutes as the starter, 11 points, 4 boards, 1 block, 3 threes. This is not yet qualifying as fantasy worthy, but it could if he can get a little bit more cash counters in the bucket. The 25 minutes is great. If he could keep that going, then he's on to something. This Steve Kerr rotations thing, I know the internet's all up in arms about it. I know basketball analysts are all up in arms about it. He's playing 11 guys or whatever. It is what it is. Buddy Hield's the guy that I'm watching. 11 points, 4 assists, 3 threes, 24 minutes. Look, if he's going to keep doing this in his 24-minute role as they keep him on the bench, there was no Kuminga in this one, so I can't blame Kuminga for the passing stuff, though. Hield's got 9 shots and 7 attempts from deep. I'll take that all day long because Buddy Hield will be he's the cockroach that never goes away. I love Buddy Hield. I hate calling him a cockroach, but he's literally indestructible in fantasy leagues, and he's going to continue to be indestructible. There was a commenter that was all over me about like how Buddy Hield sucks, and he's just not going to be a thing. He's already a thing. Even as he's doing this, he's already a thing. So I think Buddy Hield, the buy low window, is just sitting there. He might even be available in the waiver wire in some shallow leagues. But Buddy Hield, get him on your team for when they start to rely on him down the stretch. Brandon Pajemski, 16 minutes. It's just not cooking. The emptiest box score line you'll ever see. Just not cooking. And, the preseason hype machine. This is why early drafts and early ADP watches can really, really send people the wrong direction off of a cliff. That's all I got for you guys in Golden State. Andrew Wiggins, 20 points, 4 threes, 3 assists. So he's got the needle pointing in the right direction. And Steph, a little quiet game, not worth mentioning. On the San Antonio side, Victor Wembanyama's back, 25, 7, and 9, 1 steal, 3 blocks, 4 threes. He's the second best fantasy play right now, considerable distance behind Nikola Jokic. So I think folks are going to want to see how that starts to pivot if Victor Wembanyama can start to gain some real momentum. Elsewhere in the box, Harrison Barnes, 22 and 8 with a steal and a block, 2 threes. This is kind of a Harrison Barnes sort of a week. Look for things to shift. Devin Vassell's been in and out of the lineup. That, of course, will help a guy like Barnes. But I think as things normalize in San Antonio, you've got no Keldon Johnson in this game. A lot of things working well for Harrison Barnes. I don't think this is a run out and get Harrison Barnes kind of moment. Chris Paul, quiet, 9 and 7 with 2 blocks, 2 threes. Still, that gets it done. He'll probably finish inside the top 100 this season, and that's great considering where he was drafted. Stephon Castle, 19 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 threes, 7 of 15 shooting. Look, it's not going to be as good as it looks, and it's not going to be as bad as it seems. I think Castle's a great player. He's going to kind of just cruise along. I wouldn't be surprised if he had late round value the rest of the way. That said, the shooting inefficiency and just sort of the yo-yo factor as things get weird in San Antonio, I don't think people should be breaking their necks to get him. Zach Collins, 12 minutes as the backup. I only like him as a handcuff to Victor Wembanyama, and even when Wembanyama's off the floor, he's only like a top 175 to top 200 guy. So we haven't seen Zach Collins be good yet this season, but I do like him as a handcuff to Wemby. All right, let's get out of San Antonio. Let's get into Denver at the Lakers. Denver just loves to whomp these guys, and that's what they did in this one. Jokic, 34, 13, and 8 to go with 2 steals, a block, and 3 threes. That's why he is about 50% more valuable, maybe like 30, 40% more valuable than Victor Wembanyama right now in the number 2 slot. So good job, Nikola Jokic, being Nikola Jokic. Michael Porter Jr., 24, 11, 4, and a steal and 4 threes. That's great. He's just cruising along as an early round value, just killing it. Peyton Watson, 11 points, 1 block, 5 boards, 1 3, giving you a little bit here and there. Aaron Gordon's return probably knocks him out of late round value. So plan as you will. Jamal Murray, 14, 5, and 5. I don't know. Maybe Jamal Murray's got more in the tank this season for, like, say, the next third of the season. That could be doable. There might be some buy low potential here. Christian Brown, 16 points, 2 threes, 1 steal. This is the baseline I think folks should expect from Christian Brown, and just be happy if he gives you more. That's going to do it. Other than I will shout out Russell Westbrook's 14, 7, and 11. I think you all have watched Russell Westbrook enough to know that Russell Westbrook, I love it when announcers do that. That's, it happens a few times every month. Darius Saric, back to the bench, 4 minutes, back to your waiver wire. For the Lakers side, Anthony Davis, 6 and 19 against Jokic, expectable. 14, 10, and 3 steals, 3 and 2 blocks. He had a good enough line. We're not going to bag on Anthony Davis for this one. Rui Hachimura enters the starting lineup, 10 points, 2 threes, 2 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, 22 minutes. Well, that kind of took the Dalton Connect show and derailed it. 9 points, 5 boards, 1 3, nothing else for Dalton Connect in his 28 minutes. So life is good playing with LeBron for Dalton Connect. The other thing we're watching for, Austin Reeves, 19 points, 3 boards, 6 assists, 1 steal, 3 threes. I think the Connect stuff messes with Reeves, and I don't like that because we got Reeves everywhere. But now that Connect's in the bench lineup, I like it. Cam Reddish, 20 minutes, 6 points, 2 steals, nothing cooking there. I am so annoyed by the Cam Reddish stuff. It's like I got nothing against Cam Reddish, but why? D'Angelo Russell, 18 minutes, 7 and 5. The milk has gone sour for D'Angelo Russell in Los Angeles. I don't know if this is just that the trade is like so obvious to everybody involved that he's just been almost maybe even told, hey, just go out there and don't get hurt. I don't know if he's pissed. I don't know what's what, but it's certainly not a D'Angelo Russell season right now in Los Angeles. And I do think you kind of got to hang on here, because if he does get back to 27, 29 minutes per game, as he played last year, he's going to have possibly mid-round value in an eight cat format. So it's kind of hard to give up on him. Pretty soon, it might be the case that that's the advice, but eesh, not so great in LA for D'Angelo Russell. Atlanta at Chicago. We already covered Chicago, so let's quickly talk about Atlanta. Atlanta, you got big lines out of Jalen Johnson, 25, 13, and 5. So that's fine. Clint Capella, 21 and 11 in a block. He's the center to own in Atlanta. Trae Young, I wouldn't say that this shooting bounce back is here yet, but 25 and 13, 4 steals and a block and a 3 and 8 of 8 from the foul line certainly plays. Dyson Daniels, 3 of 14. So he's still getting shots, but the 3 of 14 is doing some heavy lifting in this line. 8 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 4 steals, 2 threes. So you got you 6 cash counters. We're not going to fight about that. But Bogdan Bogdanovic, 26 minutes, 16 points, 4 assists, 6 of 11 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3. The question is, does he knock Dyson Daniels off his line in fantasy? Does Dyson Daniels go from being a top 20 guy, which was really, really extraordinarily high, down to something like top 50? Does he slide down to top 75? I mean, nobody wants to get rid of Dyson Daniels right now. I'm just playing devil's advocate, people. I'm just playing devil's advocate. If Bogdan takes some of the easy stuff away from him, do we get some of the inefficiency that's sort of plagued Dyson's fantasy value in the past when he's had opportunities? Dyson looks great. I probably don't value him less than top 50 or 60, to be safe. 50 or 60 is you're evaluating potential deals to possibly, sacrilegiously get rid of Dyson Daniels. It pains me to say it. I feel like I'm almost obligated to say it because I don't want to be the bringer of bad news. Onyeka Okongwu, 7.6 boards, no defensive stats, no threes. This is the downside of Okongwu, and I do think he is the last big man that you want to own here in Atlanta. And shout out Clint Capella for doing it once again. That's it for these guys. Let's get into, we'll say hello to DeAndre Hunter. Your 29 minutes are interesting. We already covered Chicago, so we've got one more team that played and then 2 that did not. We got Golden State played New Orleans, 112-108. They come away with the win. New Orleans still just riding a lot of injury information on a day-to-day basis. Brandon Ingram played in this one, 18 points, 7 assists, 2 blocks, 2 threes. So he played well enough for your fantasy team. You guys know the advice there. Trey Murphy, 24 points, 4 boards, 4 assists. And maybe you don't know the advice. If you could get out of the Brandon Ingram game, get out of the Brandon Ingram game. If he's healthy, he's probably going to be top 75, there or thereabouts for your squad. Trey Murphy, 38 minutes. That's a great sign. 24 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, 1 block, 5 threes. This is why you put up with the Trey Murphy injury, which just felt like, here we go again. And Trey Murphy just falling in drafts. I think he was available around 100. And especially for this Pelicans squad. This Pelicans squad might end up featuring Trey Murphy, might end up featuring Herbert Jones. These guys should not be available in fantasy leagues. I'm talking about Herbert there. Should not be available in fantasy leagues. These guys produce way too much, top 50 like numbers. They get so disrespected in fantasy leagues. So Trey Murphy getting this many minutes shows his hammy's probably doing pretty good. So they might consider keeping him out for back-to-backs, but hopefully that restriction gets lifted soon and we just see him just go. Elfrid Payton, 26 minutes, 4 points, 3 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals. If not for the 3 steals, that would be a Kendrick Perkins special. Javonte Green, 15 points, 4 boards, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 3 in 20 minutes. That's what Javonte Green does. I don't know if you can count on it. And we do watch all the way down the roster with this squad. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, 19 and 12, 2 steals, 1 3, 7-11, 4 of 4 from the foul line. Look, it's not pretty, but he gets you top 150, and he's getting minutes, and he's been getting minutes, and Zion might never play basketball again. Who knows? Brandon Boston, 35 minutes off the bench this time, 16 points, 5 boards, 7 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 1 3. Shout out Dr. A. I know you'll be thrilled with that one. But Brandon Boston Jr. has just been, all over the board. The players are all coming back. So Brandon Boston's time as a standard league producer is, it's probably over here. But I do see Brandon Boston factoring for this squad say in the second half of the season. I just don't know if he'll be above 150 or if he'll be able to kind of hover in the 125, 100 range while playing 30 plus minutes per game. He needs the 30 plus minutes per game because of the holes in his stat set. But every now and then he just, with those long arms, he reaches out and gets 2 steals and a block. It's the efficiencies for him that generally throw him off. Jordan Hawkins back, 6 points, 20 minutes, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 3. I mean, these games might be junked up enough for this kind of stuff to happen enough to keep the Jordan Hawkins of the world to be fantasy relevant. This guy could easily, like a lot of players here, see his way through this mess and be a late round value the rest of the way. So keep a close eye on all of these guys. Yves Missi did not play, left shoulder soreness. I don't want to say rookie wall this early, but his stats have been sort of up and down. And we would like to see just consistent blocks. Just give me consistent blocks and boards. Everything else will kind of just work itself out for Missi. But he's starting to flirt with being somewhat droppable. And it's because the upside might not be that high. That's you want the upside to be high for a young player with minutes that are kind of bouncing all over the place on a team in a bad situation. You want the upside to be high. The upside's not as high as you would like it to be. Therefore, he's a little bit more droppable in situations like this. DeJounte Murray, who fractures his left hand on opening night, he intends to make his return Wednesday against Toronto. So that's a big blow to Brandon Boston. It's a big blow to a lot of players in this rotation. But you will not see Alfred Payton being useful. You will not see Javonte Green probably being useful at that point. Boston will probably be beneath the cut line, at least in terms of current production. Jeremiah Robinson Earl probably survives a little bit, but he might actually become a 170 to 200 guy. So a lot happens when DeJounte Murray and then ultimately CJ McCollum and Herbert Jones. We haven't heard a lot about him, but you got to think that return's coming within like the next week, 2 or 3 tops. I would think probably within 2 weeks is where I have Herbert, and maybe even sooner than that. Let's get to a pair of teams that didn't play over that span. We got Phoenix. The things I'm watching for Phoenix, it sounds like Durant and Beal are returning in the next one. So yay, for them. Grayson Allen. The one thing I'm watching for Grayson Allen well, actually, let me tell you one thing I'm not watching for Grayson Allen. I wondered if this dude just went hung out in Cabo, and I know he's got a kid and he just had the kid, and that probably means none of that is even possibly true. But it's like, dude, you are heavy. Is it muscle? What's up with that? Are you quick? Can you do things on defense? You were so springy last season. Like, you would just watch him, you're like, man, that guy can jump. He's all over the place. He's he's just disrupting things everywhere, getting you steals and blocks. This year, nothing. And he's yoked. And you can just kind of see that I'm determined he's in good shape. I wanted to see where his mind was at. There was a nice little clip that Dwayne Rankin of the Phoenix, Arizona Sun. I forget the name of that paper. Of Grayson talking, and he just looks fully engaged. I think being off the ball, I think something schematically, defensively might be something. It might be different, but Grayson Allen has maybe a week tops to be productive and have the same kind of cachet in terms of analysis, trying to figure out where he could be as a fantasy basketball player. The same cachet he had last season. Last season, he was a top 50 guy. This season, is he a top 125 guy when things are going well? Is he a top 100 guy when things are going well? There's a lot of players that get injured in front of him. If he profiles as a top 50 guy when things are going well, then the juice is worth the squeeze when things are packed. If he profiles as a top 100, 125 guy when things are going well for him, well, then that's not going to work in a lot of formats. In a 200-player formats, I've been holding on thinking that this week or the next week, that's when we're really going to figure out, does he have top whatever potential? It's sad, but it really feels like it's leaning toward the latter. 37.6% shooting on the year, 76.9% from the foul line. I think this is a guy that had a kid, had an Achilles issue, changed his body type. I think this is the unfortunately long road to getting to be wherever he will land. We'll find that out in the next week or two. That's really the only thing I'm watching for in Phoenix, though there are other things going on. Royce O'Neal's playing at a top 115 level this season, so he's always worth watching. Tyus Jones, just being Tyus Jones, as mentioned in the preseason, he just has to exist. And he'll be a top 90 value, which is exactly what he is. Bradley Beal, top 35 value, went on the floor, so we'll see if he can keep it going there. In the last team that did not play, Oklahoma City, we'll talk about them later today because they do play today. Shea, top 3. Jalen, top 6 in 9-cat formats. What a jump for Jalen Williams. Chet Holmgren. I got a chance to add Chet Holmgren with a fab bid. It was thrilling. I spent a little too much, but I don't care. If he gets back on the other side of the All-Star break, I'll be just stoked. Isaiah Hartenstein, 1 game of top 50 value since he returned. He looked great in that game. We're just going to see, can he make it happen? I mean, he jumped up quick. Top 80 this season in 9-cat formats. We're just 0.8 turnovers per game. So in an 8-cat format, that plays like 110. But boy, 2.3s, 1.2 steals, 0.8 blocks. He's probably benefiting from a little bit of Alex Caruso looking like a wounded warrior out there. All that dude does is run around and play football out there. Isaiah Joe had it going for a little bit, but he's been dinged up. Dort, that's been the winner so far of what happens with Chet Holmgren out, unless you're talking Jalen Williams as a top 6 fantasy play. I mean, this is what we were talking about. This is why we wanted to reach a little bit for Jalen Williams. I mean, he was hard to get. I'm not going to sit here and say I got a ton of Jalen Williams. It was hard to get him. Depending on where you were drafting, it was really hard to get him. But this was the thinking, is that he's just a man-child out there. His physical prowess, if Shea wasn't on the team, we'd be talking about Jalen Williams in sort of the same ways that we talk about Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. So super exciting stuff out of Oklahoma City. I don't think they're going to skip a beat. And we're not going to skip a beat. We're going to end this show. Thank you guys for hanging out for 30 teams of a review. I'm going to be doing a live show on YouTube later on. So get subscribed to that channel. Hit a thumbs up on the link before the show even starts. Helps us out as well. Really appreciate you guys. This has been Fantasy NBA Today, presented by Bet Online, a Sports Ethos presentation. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, be well.